For this video, I take the Ohio River Scenic Byway from Madison to Aurora, Indiana. Along the Scenic Highway and Byway, you'll see one of the most beautiful areas in all of Indiana. However, it's also going to look like an episode of the Trailer Park Boys and Spots. You'll see a lot of vans down by the river, a lot of junk piled up in certain yards, a lot of trailers and campgrounds, but you'll see a lot of the nice small towns along the way, such as Madison, Vevay, Rising Sun, and Aurora. We also pass by a casino on the way, so make sure you're ready to play some bets on your next horse race that you're following. Don't want to miss out on that. Actually, there's two casinos that we pass by, and that's how you know we're driving along the Ohio River when there's a casino in every other town. Another sign is that you'll see a coal power plant along every other river bend, but that's neither here or there. It was a nice day in the spring of 2021 when I came through. Things were starting to bloom, and even though leaves weren't on half the trees, the grass was green and the Ohio River was brown like it always is. I begin the video in the town of Hanover, which is just west of Madison, and the entire length of the drive that I make is about 65 miles. The economy of rural southern Indiana isn't the greatest, especially in some parts that I'm about to go through, but there's still some nice sights and scenes along the way, especially with the architecture of the buildings in Madison. You could also make postcards out of the downtowns that we pass through in Vevay, Rising Sun, and Aurora. Madison and Hanover are about halfway between Cincinnati and Louisville along the Ohio River, and once we're in Aurora, we'll be just west of the Indiana and Ohio state line, which isn't far from Cincinnati. I'll speed things up when we pass through the countryside, but as we go through the towns, I'll slow things down in the video so you can soak in all the fame and glory that is the Ohio River Valley in southern Indiana. If you enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, as doing all of those things helps these videos destroy the evil monster that is the YouTube algorithm. Also make sure to hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy checking out some of the featured playlists on this channel. Videos on other places like what you'll see here can be found in my Scenic Highways and Byways playlist, my Ohio River playlist, or in my Indiana playlist. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. I'll mention things here and there throughout this video, but for the most part it'll be the music that you all love and enjoy. Basically, when we enter a new county or when we enter a town, I'll talk. Make sure to check out my video on Madison, Indiana, which may or may not yet be uploaded to YouTube depending on when you see this video. In that video, I talk about Madison and I tell you everything that you need to know about the town. As you'll see here shortly, it's a pretty nice looking town despite the towering coal power plant that we're currently passing by. This coal power plant might be closing soon, by the way, due to the feds saying that it's too harmful towards the environment, as Indiana has some of the most outdated regulations on environmental impacts from industrial facilities or power plants. But anyway, you don't see too many towns like Madison with all of their original buildings from the 19th century. It's pretty neat. We also just passed by the lower entrance to Clifty Falls State Park to the left. It's got 4 waterfalls inside of it. It's got some nice hiking trails, but unfortunately the downside is that it overlooks this massive coal power plant that we just passed, but it's still a nice park. But yes, we've just entered the town of Madison, and I've already talked about Madison in a prior video, so I won't do it here. And if you want to learn more about Madison, I do encourage you to watch that video. It's a very interesting place. Make sure to check out my Indiana playlist or my USA Small Towns playlist, or you could just look at the top right corner as I have it linked here. And this shot was taken from me driving the opposite way, just getting some B-roll to add to this video. So, sorry for the confusion if you noticed that it was going in the opposite direction. Here we're about to drive through some of the least populated counties in the entire state in Switzerland County and Ohio County, and as you can imagine, that's due to the geography mostly. As the Ohio River takes an unusual bend, it goes in kind of a U shape, and it kind of cuts off this region from the rest without a bridge being built or something, and that just leaves this area a hilly area that is not very suitable for developing, and that's why these counties are so sparsely populated. Switzerland County only has about 10,000 residents. It's very different from the rest of Indiana, which is a pretty densely populated state for the most part, as you have these big enough cities that dot the map throughout most of the state. Oh yes, the good old boy town of Vevay. That's right, Vevay, not Vevay. It's actually named after a town in Switzerland called Vevay, and it's spelled with a V-E-Y at the end, not a V-A-Y. Why this place is spelled with a V-A-Y, I have no idea. But this town was developed in the early 19th century, around the same time that nearby Madison was developed, actually. And it was developed from a group of Swiss immigrants that decided to make wine here. And Vevay is considered to be the location of the first commercial winery in the nation. That's right, and you can probably guess the name Switzerland County comes from the Swiss immigrants of the area. I've always considered Vevay a much smaller version of Madison, a much smaller version of Madison. There's only about 1,600 people in Vevay, and I already showed you the county how it has only 10,000 people. But downtown Vevay has some nice architecture similar to that of nearby Madison, and you also have a small collection of houses in the blocks that surround downtown that reflect the architecture of Madison. Not too many people ever come down to Vevay because it's so hard to get to. It's in such a remote area, and you have nearby Madison that is bigger and easier to get to. Still a nice town to visit, though. And here you have one of only 2 crossings over the Ohio River between Cincinnati and Louisville. You also have a random casino here. I say random because there is no town. I guess the only reason why it makes sense why a casino would be here is because of the bridge, but it's here nonetheless to help support the local economy. It's a very common sight to see along the Ohio River Valley, almost as common as coal power plants. And this is the unincorporated town of Florence. It has a post office, and it's been running ever since the early 1800s, actually, even though the town is unincorporated. And this place is so small that the land that the casino sits on is probably bigger than the whole community. And this is the town of Patriot, home to only around 200 people. And judging off of this sign, it looks like they're really proud of their 4th of July parade. Patriot was platted in 1812, and it was actually named Troy originally, but hasn't ever really been much, as it only hit a peak population of around 450 people or so back in the 1800s. And if you've seen my other videos at this point, you know me, then you might know that I'm a Steeler fan and big NFL guy. Gotta love seeing this in Cincinnati Bengal territory. And up here you got a rough stretch of the highway, and you have to wonder if it was damaged by a flood. And to the right, you might have saw that there's another massive coal power plant, just like I said, along every other river bend you can expect one along the mighty Ohio River. Whether it's on the Indiana side or the Kentucky side, doesn't matter. And even along the Illinois and Kentucky border, they're all over the place. The Ohio River is actually the most polluted river in the entire United States, and a lot of it is because of industrial waste into the Ohio River, much less agricultural waste, and actually a big culprit of it is a plant in Indiana over by Evansville, which is pretty far west from here and downstream. We also just entered Ohio County, which is home to around 5,000 or so people. It's the least populated county in the entire state of Indiana, and it's the smallest county by area. So saying that it's the least populated doesn't necessarily mean that it's like Alaska or Wyoming over here or anything. It's just a really small county, and there's only one town. It's Rising Sun, and we'll be in Rising Sun in no time. Believe it or not, Ohio County is actually a part of the Cincinnati metropolitan area, which is kind of odd. It's not like Ohio County adds anything to it, but metropolitan areas are determined by the amount of people that commute to the primary city of the metropolitan area, and there aren't any jobs out here, so I guess it makes sense. And oh yes, good old Rising Sun. Gotta love the name of this town. There's about 2,100 people that live in Rising Sun today, and it's located not that far west of Cincinnati. And it's actually a town that came to be about in around 1830 or so. People started moving in. There was a large influence of German immigrants that came to the area. And today it has a nice little downtown area. I'd say it's probably the best one outside of Madison that we've been through. And here's a view of Main Street heading towards the Ohio River. Pretty nice. Now, I don't even have to guess this. It's pretty easy to assume that the name Rising Sun comes from the view over the Ohio River, as looking across the Ohio River from the Indiana side at this point is facing east. Now, maybe I'm just ignorant and wrong, but who knows? I'm pretty I feel pretty good about that one. And as you can see here, a bunch of good old boys with their good old pickup trucks and even an ATV parked off to the side. Pretty accurate representation of the population of this area. Now this scene looks pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie, but I've been on both sides of the Ohio River, both Kentucky and Indiana, between Madison and Cincinnati quite a few times. Let me just say the Indiana side, the towns are a lot nicer than the Kentucky side. There's some sides on the Kentucky side that I wonder if they're even going to be around that much longer. I mean, there's a few towns on the Kentucky side that are all right and doing fine, but most of them are just really small places that used to be a place, and they're slowly and surely starting to not become a place, if that makes sense. And on the right, you have another casino, the Rising Star Casino and Resort. I don't get to it, but there's even yet another casino before you reach the Ohio state line up ahead. It's in Lawrenceburg. And now we're in Dearborn County, which is the largest county by population that we go through in this video, as it's home to around 50,000 people or so. There's not really a big city in this county. It's really just a cluster of cities that kind of make it seem like one bigger city. It's a really blue-collar area, but we are shortly going to be in one of those towns that make up that cluster, which is Aurora. Dearborn County is also a part of the greater Cincinnati metropolitan area, for whatever that's worth. Just like many of the other towns that we've been through in this video, Aurora has a nice historic little downtown area. It's named after the goddess of dawn in Roman mythology. The town was incorporated in 1848, and that's around the time that many of the buildings in downtown that you'll see were built. Me personally, I would say that the cities of Aurora, Lawrenceburg, and Greendale, and some of the other unincorporated communities in Dearborn County are suburbs of Cincinnati, but as I've learned in other videos, there's always a group of people that get offended by calling their city a suburb. I would say that these are suburbs of Cincinnati, though, because the median household income for Dearborn County is $68,000 per year. And the reason why I mentioned that stat is because that is much higher than the rest of rural Indiana, and I would say that it definitely benefits from the economy of Cincinnati. So that's why I would say that, in case anyone does get upset or hurt by calling their town a suburb. Now, you could say that these places might have not always been suburbs of Cincinnati, and I would agree with that, but I would also say that these places have kind of been grandfathered in, so to say, as suburban expansion continues to be a thing and people continue to move further away from cities, and I would say a large percentage of the population in Dearborn County today is from suburban expansion with Cincinnati. Well, that's about it for this video, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, as doing all of those things helps these videos destroy the evil monster that is the YouTube algorithm. Other videos on places like what you saw here can be found in my Scenic Highways and Byways playlist, my Ohio River playlist, or in my Indiana playlist. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. We'll see you next time. Peace.